The rain tapped softly against the windows of the old bookstore, but inside Sarah Mitchell's soul, a whirlwind was raging unchecked. She perched on the worn wooden stool behind the counter, her fingers absently tracing the edges of a faded novel, trying to mask the scars that years of disappointment had etched into her spirit. Her young son, Ethan, sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, stacking colorful blocks into wobbly towers with focused determination, and across the narrow aisle, browsing through the history section with a quiet intensity, was the man she never thought would turn her world upside down. Alex Rivera, someone she'd known for barely a month, yet whose presence made the air feel a little less heavy, a little more alive. From the instant she spotted him that afternoon, her face betrayed it all. She looked like a woman burdened by a truth so profound that one misplaced word might unravel her entirely. She had come to the store that day resolved to keep him at arm's length before fate could wound her once more. In her heart, she had long ago concluded that joy was a luxury she wasn't destined to hold on to. The second the phrase escaped her lips, "Guys don't stick around for widows with kids," she felt her stomach twist into knots. If you believe in compassion, fresh starts, and tales that reignite your trust in humanity, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps Asad Yd bring more soul-stirring stories to life. Sarah had once envisioned a straightforward, peaceful existence. Raised in a cozy suburb of Seattle, she pictured a home filled with the scent of fresh-baked cookies, bedtime stories under twinkling lights, and a love that endured through every season. She imagined a partner who weathered the storms alongside her. But visions often crumble under the crush of harsh truths. At 28, she married her high school sweetheart, only to lose him in a sudden car accident just 2 years later, leaving her widowed and pregnant. The grief hollowed her out, planting a seed of doubt that she was cursed, too fragile and too alone all at once. Raising Ethan solo became her reality. She poured her days into running the small independent bookstore her husband had dreamed of opening, balancing inventory with diaper changes and midnight feedings. Outwardly, she was warm, articulate, and ever helpful to customers. But inwardly, each day was a quiet war against sorrow, fatigue, and the gnawing worry that her boy deserved a fuller family than a grieving mother who sometimes forgot to eat amid the chaos. She had mastered the art of shielding her emotions, offering smiles that hid the ache in her throat, and never leaning on anyone for fear of collapse. Alex wandered into her life subtly, like a bookmark slipping unexpectedly between pages. He was a photographer from Portland, relocated to Seattle for a freelance gig, capturing the city's hidden waterfront gems. There was an unshakable calm about him, a rooted assurance. Their first encounter was at the bookstore during a rainy evening event, when he came to photograph local authors for a magazine spread. She recalled how he crouched to Ethan's level, asking about his favorite superhero with genuine curiosity and a playful grin. She caught the empathy in his gaze, a rarity that stirred memories of kindness she'd buried deep. For the first time in ages, she felt truly noticed, but the sensation scared her senseless. So, she dodged it whenever he lingered. It took him a full month to persuade her for a simple tea at the shop after closing. And even then, she insisted Ethan join because she refused to hide her truth. She was a mom above all else. Now, in the dim glow of the pendant lights, with the patter of rain as their backdrop and the scent of aged paper enveloping them, Sarah wished she had declined. The store felt too cozy, too revealing. She stared at the countertop, dreading his gaze. She was weary of yearning, weary of acting like she didn't crave someone to share these quiet evenings, weary of picturing Ethan playing catch with a man who might vanish by dawn. She had to end it now, before roots could form. So, she voiced the line she'd practiced in countless mirrors. Guys don't stick around for widows with kids. She braced for the awkward nod, the murmured excuse, the subtle retreat. She braced for abandonment. That's what always happened. Ethan paused his building, glancing up at the adults with wide-eyed wonder. His messy hair flopped as he tilted his head, picking up on his mom's unease. Sarah reached down to ruffle his locks gently, masking her turmoil with a forced grin. Ethan was her anchor through the longest nights. She recalled the evenings she sobbed into pillows to spare him the sound. She recalled forgoing new clothes so he could have toys. She recalled the humiliation of scraping together rent while pretending everything was fine. These echoes reinforced her conviction that no one would choose to enter her fractured world willingly. Alex observed her in silence. His eyes held steady, unflinching, no hint of discomfort or shock. He noted the faint quiver in her posture despite her poise. He saw the guarded edge to her expression, and the weariness etched in faint lines around her eyes. And deep within, something stirred, not sympathy but profound respect. He viewed her as remarkably resilient. He revered how she safeguarded her son, how she managed the store with quiet dedication, how she bore her grief like armor. But Sarah couldn't see her resilience. She only saw the fragments she deemed irreparable. The quiet stretched, dense and charged. Sarah's pulse thundered in her ears. She awaited his exit, but instead, Alex shifted closer, his demeanor earnest, yet composed. Sarah didn't grasp it yet, but a pivotal shift was unfolding. Something destined to dismantle every barrier she'd erected around her wounded heart. When Alex spoke at last, his tone was firm, resonating with an authenticity that pierced her defenses. He gently corrected her, not with argument, but with heartfelt truth. He said he honored her even more for being a widow and a mother. He praised her endurance, her devotion, the way she raised her son with unwavering love amid loss. He insisted that her past wasn't a drawback. It was proof of her unbreakable spirit. Sarah's breath hitched as he went on, declaring that anyone blind to her value didn't deserve a place in her life. He wasn't walking away out of obligation, but because he'd already started to cherish her and Ethan in a way that felt inevitable. His response rattled her foundation. She froze, fighting back the sting of tears. She wasn't accustomed to such affirmations. She wasn't used to being regarded as a treasure rather than a complication. She wasn't used to someone choosing to remain. Vulnerability washed over her, raw and exposing, yet mingled with an unexpected lightness, as if a long-held burden had been shared. Ethan, oblivious to the emotional undercurrents, toddled over and tugged at Alex's sleeve with chubby fingers. Alex chuckled warmly and lifted the boy onto his lap without hesitation. That simple act, childlike and instinctive, twisted Sarah's heart with equal parts terror and optimism. She'd witnessed men recoil from Ethan before, uneasy with a child who wasn't theirs. But Alex engaged fully, asking about the blocks with animated interest, as if Ethan belonged right there in the moment. Sarah dabbed at her eyes discreetly. Her breaths came shaky, her resolve softening. Alex's words replayed endlessly. She struggled for a reply. For so long she'd internalized herself as damaged goods, her worth eroded by tragedy and single parenthood. Yet here was a man affirming the opposite, celebrating what she hid. They conversed for nearly 2 hours after, delving into passions, daily struggles, Ethan's antics, aspirations, anxieties, and silly jokes that drew genuine laughs. Sarah felt tension easing from her shoulders, a rarity. Alex wasn't pushing boundaries. He wasn't performing. He was authentically there, attentive, honest, and kind-hearted. That genuineness began to thaw her guarded layers, like dawn melting morning mist. Nights blurred into days, then weeks. Alex didn't vanish. He didn't become a fleeting visitor like those before. Instead, he appeared reliably, not with extravagance, but with thoughtful consistency. He'd swing by the bookstore with a hot cocoa for her mid-shift. He'd arrive on Saturdays to read stories to Ethan, giving Sarah a moment to breathe. He didn't intrude or overwrite her life. He simply infused it with gentleness. Sarah caught herself anticipating his arrivals, the serenity he carried, the joy Ethan found in his company. But hope bred caution. She had flashes of withdrawal, terrified of attachment and loss. She worried for Ethan's heart, for her own fragile mending. Yet each time shadows of doubt emerged, Alex countered with understanding. He gave her space, no demands, just steady support as she rebuilt trust. Seasons shifted, and gradually Sarah embraced vulnerability anew. She observed Alex's respectful play with Ethan, his affectionate regard for her. The equilibrium he introduced. One crisp autumn afternoon by the Puget Sound, with waves lapping gently and leaves swirling in the breeze. Sarah finally acknowledged she wasn't isolated anymore. She'd discovered a man who didn't merely love her. He embraced her history. He cherished her son. He valued her fortitude. He adored the traits she once feared repelled others. As the light faded over the water, Alex clasped her hand, not insistently, but with tender assurance. And Sarah sensed, profoundly, the dawn of a renewed chapter. Not flawless, not without challenges, but brimming with promise. She learned that love doesn't thunder in with drama. Sometimes it arrives softly, like a reassuring whisper amid the gale, affirming you're not defined by loss, not shattered beyond repair, not past the point of true connection. If this story warmed your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Asad Yd.